Hey, hi guys. I wish I could be there today. I'm just not feeling great. So I wanted to do this screencast for you so you can follow along in case you get lost. I am simply have the Google Doc. That's the step-by-step directions. I'm just going to go through them and just show you how to do one of these letters. The Google Doc has an example what this looks like. It's a pretty simple animation where you're going to have your name fly around the screen and then kind of coalesce back into your name. So the first thing you do is we're just going to create a new animation, and it'll be standard size. So standard size is fine. Make sure you have 24 for your frame rate, and hit create. So here's my stage. My toolbar is right here. We're going to be using a few of these tools. First tool to use is the text tool. So I'm going to hit this T. We haven't used it yet. If I click on the stage, you'll see this flashing cursor. Over here on the properties, I can adjust a couple things here. The character is where you can mess around. There's a lot of different fonts available. I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole, but I'll just go down font. Also, the fill, I can adjust what color. I'll just do kind of a nice blue. And size, you want it big, but you don't need it gigantic. So we'll try this. I'm just going to type my name in here. Actually, don't like that font too much, so give me a second. So let's see if there's another font that would look a little bit better. You kind of want a chunky font. There we go. I'll live with that. And I'm going to make this bigger. If you kind of hover over this and you click and drag to the right or left, sometimes it allows you to kind of mess with that. But let's see. I'm going to make this 125. There we go. I don't want it huge. All right. There we go. Okay. So I did that. So that was the second step. So now I'm going to go to my free transform tool, which is this one right here. It's got the box with all the little dots. I click on that, and then I'm going to move the cursor to the inside of this box here, okay? And I'm going to right click, and I need to make sure I got to get back to my free transform tool. Right click, and you'll see these options, and I want to click on break apart, which is right down here. So I click break apart. And what that does is it separates the letters into individual pieces, which is what I want. Okay, so this is on, the fourth step on the Google Doc. Okay, and now on the fifth step, okay, I want to right click again, and I want to go down here to distribute to layers. Okay, distribute to layers. And what that just did is it made each one of those letters its own layer, which I could then animate individually. Okay, which is perfect. So now we're going to make each one of these a symbol. I talked to you briefly about symbols last week. I can get more into it on Friday, but basically I just click on the keyframe in frame one of the layer. I go up here to modify, convert to symbol. I'm going to name this T. I'm going to actually name it T1 because I have two T's in my name. I want to make sure this is a graphic symbol, and I click OK. And I'm going to do that quickly for each one of those letters. I'm going to go down here, click on it, convert to symbol. I'm going to name this one T2. It's graphic symbol. I hit OK. I'm going to go to the A, modify, convert to symbol, just name it A, hit OK. And the last one, which is the M, modify, convert to symbol, name it M. Okay, if I go to my library now, up here, you'll see that I have all these symbols. Okay, so there's a reason we do that. I'm not going to go into it because it's kind of a long explanation, but just work with me. Okay, so we are almost ready to get going here. Okay, so that was step 6. Okay, now I'm going to go to step 7. and we're going to move things around. We're going to add some keyframes. So I'm going to go here to frame 30 on my timeline. I'm just going to drag down. So I've selected frame 30 for all of them, and I'm going to add a keyframe. So if you hold this down, the kind of keyframe selector buttons, click keyframe. You see my timeline changed. The art's is held on there until frame 30, and then I want to do that again on frame 40. You'll understand why we're doing this here in a little bit. Okay, so now I have keyframes on frame 1, 30, and 40, and I am close to getting ready to go. Okay, so now I go to step 8. I click on keyframe 1 of layer 1, which is my M. I'll do it, you could do this from either side, but just start with the first letter of your name here. Okay, layer 1. So again, this is number 8 again. Okay, so I'm going to move the layer. I want to click on my free transform tool, which is on there already. You'll see, and I could rotate it. I can make it bigger. Drag it over here. Okay, so now I'm going to go to frame 5. Okay, and I'm going to add a keyframe. And I'm going to drag it to another spot. And I'm going to squish it this time. And I'll spin it around some more. All right. And then I'm going to go to, and I'm going to do this for frames 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. Add a keyframe. Then you move it. Okay, move it to another spot. You can mess around with this a little bit. You got a 15. Add a keyframe, move it around, and make it really fat. And then I can go to 20, add a keyframe. I'm going to move it back up here. I'm going to make it very skinny. I'll flip it all the way upside down up here. And then I'm going to go to 25, add a keyframe, and I'll move it back here. I'll kind of spin it, and I'll make it more or less normal size. Okay, so now I have keyframes for, it's not really animated, but it's just going to be bouncing around. Okay, so we're very close to getting this animated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add something called a classic tween. And instead of going in and having to do the frame-by-frame animation, which we've done so far, I am going to have the computer draw it for me. So I'm going to click the first keyframe, and I'm going to click, let's see, I want to make sure I'm reading my own directions here, make sure I don't mess this up. Frame 30, okay, good. Okay, so I click the first keyframe, I click the keyframe, and I hold shift, and I click, so let me get out of this, I'll do this one more time for you. Click the first keyframe, I'm holding the shift button, and I click 30, and that'll select all the keyframes. And then I could do one or two things. I could right click and say create classic tween, or there is a tween button on here, which I believe is this one right here. You can click create classic tween. And what you will see is that it animates around. And if I do my loop tool and I play this thing, my M kind of pops around. And there we go. Let me do this so you can see what it's going to look like, because it'll settle for 10 frames. I actually don't need a classic tween right here, so I'm going to remove this classic tween. So when you do this, when you go back and you select them all, select the first one, and you could select all the way up to hold shift and select frame 29. But basically that's it. So now I'm going to lock this layer. I'm going to go back to my A layer, and I'm going to do the same thing. All right, so I'm just going to repeat. I'm going to move this around. I could make it bigger, and then I'm just going to add a keyframe on frame 5. Add the keyframe, then move it. All right, and make adjustments. So I'm just going to keep doing that for each one. When you got all your keyframes, I'm going to select them all. Click here. I'm going to create a classic tween, and I'll have all the letters animating. When I'm all done, click my little share button, publish, animate a GIF, and spit it out. I'm not quite sure why. I will fix your computer, but you could just spit it out as a video. You may or may not finish today. It's a fun little video, and then you could actually use this animation in slideshows or whatnot if you want to. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to you. You get the step-by-step directions, and you got this video. I will see you all on Friday.